I remember the first time I stepped into my childhood home after everything changed. The house hadn't been touched much since I left. Faded photos on the walls, the faint scent of baked bread from my mother's kitchen. But the atmosphere was different. It felt heavier, more expectant, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. For years, I was the family's laughingstock, the girl who dared to dream of cleaning the air in cities, of transforming concrete jungles into lush, breathing ecosystems. They called it science fiction, impossible. A fool. My father, with his rough hands and gruff voice, told me I was wasting my life chasing fairy tales, but I was an embarrassment to the family. My brother snorted every time I brought up bioengineering, dismissing my ideas as crazy plant stuff. And my mother? She'd smile politely, then change the subject, her eyes betraying her doubt. I was crushed, of course, but I was also stubborn. I knew, deep down, that what I was doing mattered. I had to prove them wrong, not just for myself, but for the planet. I poured every ounce of my soul into my work, even when the world mocked me, even when colleagues betrayed and discredited my climate studies, whispering that I was a naive dreamer. And I did it. I built something I now realize was a revolution in urban ecology. Bioengineered plants that sucked pollutants from the air, that thrived in the harshest city environments, that could turn barren rooftops and cracked sidewalks into green sanctuaries. What once was dismissed as sci-fi nonsense is now an integral part of our city's survival. My work has helped reduce pollution levels in several major metropolises, turning once toxic air into something breathable, something alive. But none of that mattered. I needed to see them, to face them, to show them what I'd become. I parked outside the house, heart pounding, palms sweaty. The driveway was still cracked, the garden overgrown, but my mind was focused. As I stepped through the door, I could hear the muffled sounds of voices from the living room. My family gathered there, just as I'd left them, unaware of what awaited. Then I saw them, my mother, father, brother, turned toward the doorway, eyes wide with disbelief. They looked older, sure, but the expressions on their faces told me everything I needed to know. They hadn't expected this. They hadn't expected me. "Mom," I said, voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Dad, I'm home." They looked at me as if I was a ghost. Then slowly, the realization dawned. My mother's eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling. But there was a flicker of something else. Perhaps pride, perhaps regret. My brother's mouth opened, then closed, speechless. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. I wanted them to see, not just the success I'd built, but the person I'd become because of their doubts, their dismissiveness. I led them outside to the backyard, which had been a barren patch of dirt when I left. Now, it was a lush oasis. Towering bioengineered trees swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves shimmering with iridescent colors that filtered the sunlight into a kaleidoscope of greens and blues. Vibrant flowers bloomed in impossible shades, and floating bioabsorbers hovered quietly above, pulling toxins from the air. "This," I said softly, is what I've dedicated my life to." Their eyes widened as they took in the scene. My father's rough hands brushed against a leaf, and for a moment, he looked lost for words. My mother's tears spilled over, and she reached out to touch a flowering vine that twined around the fence, something I'd engineered to thrive in urban environments, turning concrete into living green. This is real?" my brother finally whispered, voice trembling. "Yes," I replied. "It's real. I made it happen. I proved that even in the most hostile environments, life finds a way, and it can be better than anyone ever believed." The silence stretched, thick and heavy, until my father finally spoke. You were right all along?" I nodded. "I was. And I want you to see that your doubts, your ridicule, they only fueled my drive. I needed to prove that what I believed in wasn't foolish. It was necessary." In that moment, I saw the weight of years lift from their shoulders, and I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. Hope. Hope that even the most hardened skeptics can change, that dreams rooted in conviction can reshape the world. But the true catharsis came when my mother, trembling, stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I didn't understand. I thought you were chasing shadows. But you've shown us what's possible. I'm proud of you." And in that embrace, I finally understood what all the struggles had been for. It wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself that resilience and belief could turn the impossible into reality. Years ago, they mocked my dreams, dismissed my ideas, and told me I'd fail. But I kept going, through betrayals, setbacks, and doubts. And today, I stand here, surrounded by a living testament to perseverance, to hope, to changing the course of what's possible. This isn't just a victory for me. It's a testament to everyone who's ever been told they're foolish for dreaming big. Because sometimes the world needs to see what we can become when we refuse to give up. And the best part? I look at my family now and I see their eyes shining with pride, not just for what I've built, but for who I am, for having the courage to follow a dream that once seemed ridiculous. That's the real success. That's the true reward. And I know, deep in my heart, that I've finally turned their doubts into our greatest triumph.